The asynchronous inputs are normally labeled and are normally active inputs. A pre-CLR low. B on-off high. C start-stop low. D set-reset high. The correct answer is pre-CLR low. Assume a JK flip-flop has one S on the J and K inputs. The next clock pulse will cause the output to A set, B reset, C latch, D toggle. The correct answer is toggle. In synchronous systems, the exact times at which any output can change state are determined by a signal commonly called the A traffic, B D, C flip-flop, D clock. The correct answer is clock. The key to edge-triggered sequential circuits in VHDL is the A architecture, B process, C function, D variable. The correct answer is process. The JK flip-flop is a standard building block of clocked sequential logic circuits known as A function, B logic primitive, C variable, D process. The correct answer is logic primitive. A gated D latch does not have A clock input, B an enable input, C a output, D steering gates. The correct answer is a clock input. Setup time specifies the minimum time for the control levels to be maintained on the inputs prior to the triggering edge of the clock in order for data to be reliably clocked into the FF. B the maximum time interval required for the control levels to remain on the inputs before the triggering edge of the clock in order for the data to be reliably clocked out of the FF. See how long the operator has in order to get the flip-flop running before the maximum power level is exceeded. D how long it takes the output to change states after the clock has transitioned. The correct answer is the minimum time for the control levels to be maintained on the inputs prior to the triggering edge of the clock in order for data to be reliably clocked into the FF. When the output of the NOR gate SR flip-flop is Q0 and the inputs are AS1R1, BS1R0, CS0R1, DS0R0. The correct answer is S0R1. A retriggerable one-shot has a pulse width of 10 ms. 3 ms. After being triggered, another trigger pulse is applied. The resulting output pulse will be ms. A3, B7, C10, D13. The correct answer is 13. Most people would prefer to use over HDL. A graphic descriptions, B functions, C VHDL, D AHDL. The correct answer is graphic descriptions. A major drawback to an latch is its A complexity, B slow speed, C invalid condition, D latch mode. The correct answer is invalid condition. In VHDL, each instance of a component is given a name followed by A and the name of the library primitive. A function, B signal, C semicolon, D colon. The correct answer is colon. The duty cycle of a 555 timer configured as a basic astable multivibrator is controlled by A1 resistor, B2 resistors, C1 capacitor, D a resistor and a capacitor. The correct answer is a resistor and a capacitor. The major advantage of a Schmitt trigger input is that it A avoids erratic triggering, B has more triggering methods, C has a wider range of outputs, D can be re-triggered. The correct answer is avoids erratic triggering. When the output of the NOR gate SR flip-flop is in the hold state, no change, the inputs are AS1R1, BS1R0, CS0R1, D. S0 hour 0. The correct answer is S0 hour 0. Regardless of whether you develop a description in AHDL or VHDL, the circuit's proper operation can be verified using A process, B computer, C simulator, D primitive library. The correct answer is simulator. The 74121 non-retriggerable multivibrator can have the output pulse set by a single external component. This component is an A capacitor, B inductor, C resistor, D lead. The correct answer is capacitor. The signal used to identify edge-triggered flip-flops is A bubble on the clock input, B an inverted L on the output, C the letter E on the enable input, D a triangle on the clock input. The correct answer is a triangle on the clock input. An edge-triggered flip-flop can change states only when A the trigger is high, B the D input is high, C the trigger is low, D the trigger input changes levels. The correct answer is the trigger input changes levels. When both inputs of a JK pulse triggered FF are high and the clock cycles, the output will A be invalid, B not change, C remain unchanged, D toggle. The correct answer is toggle. A gated SR flip-flop goes into the clear condition when AS is high, R is low, N is high, BS is low, R is high, N is high, CS is low, R is high, N is low, DS is high, R is low, N is low. The correct answer is S is low, R is high, N is high. What type of multivibrator is a latch? A astable, B monostable, C bistable, D it depends on the type of latch. The correct answer is bistable. If an input is activated by a signal transition, it is A hair triggered, B line triggered, C pulse triggered, D edge triggered. The correct answer is edge triggered. An astable multivibrator is a circuit that A has two stable states, B is free running, C produces a continuous output signal, D is free running and produces a continuous output signal. The correct answer is produces a continuous output signal. The inputs on a 7474D flip-flop are SRD and CLK is asynchronous. A only S, B S and R, C only D, D all of the above. The correct answer is all of the above. The asynchronous inputs on a JK flip-flop A are normally not at the active level at the same time. B take precedence over the J and K inputs. C do not require a clock pulse to affect the output. D all of the above. The correct answer is all of the above. A positive edge-triggered flip-flop will accept inputs only when the clock A is low, B changes from high to low, C is high, D changes from low to high. The correct answer is changes from low to high. If data is brought into the J terminal and its complement to the K terminal, a JK flip-flop operates as an ASC flip-flop, BD flip-flop, C gated SC flip-flop, D toggle flip-flop. The correct answer is D flip-flop. The points on this timing diagram where the Q output of a D latch will be high is R. A point 4, B points 3 and 4, C points 1 and 2, D points 4 and 5. The correct answer is point 4. The action of a FFO latch is also called resetting, A breaking, B clearing, C freeing, D changing. The correct answer is clearing. The postponed symbol on the output of a flip-flop identifies it as being A D flip-flop, B a JK flip-flop, C pulse triggered, D trailing edge triggered. The correct answer is pulse triggered. The advantage of a JK flip-flop over an SRFF is that A. It has fewer gates, B. It has only one output, C. It has no invalid states, D. It does not require a clock input. The correct answer is it has no invalid states. D is the time interval immediately following the active transition of the clock signal. A. Hold time, B. Setup time, C. Over time, D. Hang time. The correct answer is hold time. A gated SR flip-flop is in the hold condition whenever A. The gate enable is high, B. The gate enable is low, C. The S and R inputs are both low, D. The gate enable is high and the S and R inputs are both low. The correct answer is the gate enable is high and the S and R inputs are both low. The toggle mode is the mode in which N changes states for each clock pulse. A. Logic level, B. Flip-flop, C. Edge detector circuit, D. Toggle detector. The correct answer is flip-flop.